Hi, and welcome to this week's review of the markets. What I'm going to do as ever is look at the fundamental data, key fundamental data that's coming out, and also looking at, of course, the technicals which we're trading by. So, what I might do is run through the fundamentals very quickly. We've got some sort of low-level data coming out today, but tomorrow we start coming out with some bit more key data points. We've got the Aussie Australian rate statement coming in, cash rate coming out 3:30 a.m. UK time tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. And then we got the Japanese monetary policy statement coming in through the Asian session there as well. They never do give us the time. They just like to sit us, make us wait. Leading on from that, we've got key figures being Tuesday, the 1st of November. We've got the manufacturing PMI. So we've got the manufacturing PMI, the first of the PMI reports coming out 9:30, which will affect the pound dollar, of course. Following on that in the afternoon, we've got the US version of that at 2 p.m. because their clocks have not quite changed yet. Then waiting another week, okay, or two. Leading on from that, not a significant amount of news we'll be trading there. Wednesday, well, again, we've got the construction PMI for the UK at 9:30, important data. And then giving us a flavour of things that may lay ahead for the Friday is the ADP non-farm payrolls, although as I said, they're notoriously out of balance with the actual figures, but all the same they give us volatility. Now the interest rate in December almost looks like a done deal, but of course we've also, before we got that, we've got next week's elections, US elections, so some volatility may well be kicking in through the markets here. And I think if we saw a sudden Trump win, we could see the dollar sold off quite significantly, at least for a short term, based on that. But we'll see. Crude inventories and etc. on Wednesday in the afternoon, 2:30 instead of 3:30 there, and then followed by the FOMC statement and Fed funds rate. Now this is unexpected. Well, if any adjustments, the statement itself may have some adjustments in it, being a little bit more hawkish towards a December increase, but the rates of the fund rates itself is largely expected to remain unchanged, particularly as we've got the election next week. Leading into Thursday, we've got services PMI. This is real key data again, so this is really Tuesday and Thursday the key figures for the UK in terms of the services and manufacturing PMIs, and then of course at 12 o'clock we've got the Bank of England figures coming out for the monetary policy summary, inflation report, which is a key report this week and this month, so that will be quite important there as well. Unemployment claims, nothing else until then 2 p.m. on the Thursday. We've got the non-manufacturing figures coming out, so plenty of data to be moving us leading into Friday, which of course we've got the non-farm payrolls at 12:30. Charlie will be happy about that because it will be in his session and not my session. So quite a bit out this week, lots of fundamental data, and of course more trembling in the US election, so plenty to keep us going there. So let's just look at the technicals now. And the weekly data first, or weekly technicals here, looking at euro dollar, didn't quite get back down to that support area, but has managed to bounce last week and leave a reasonable positive candle there, although we're selling off already running into this week. Leading into the dailies from that picture, and what we're seeing is really just a rally at the moment, maybe up to the daily 21 if it can make it, but it's struggling where we're sitting here. If it was to close anything like this today, well, bearish Arami would be expecting followed through to the downside at the moment. It's not really. It spent a week consolidating and Friday pushing up there, and then it's sort of given back half the gains almost, or a good third of the gains in one session there. But you've got to remember these gains are very small, very slim either way. So at the moment, I'm still erring to the south side on the euro overall. But if it starts building up and picking up, I mean the monthly pivot is going to be projected a little bit higher than where we are at the moment, so that may pick things up a little bit as well. But if we can start pushing up above the 21, well, maybe we'll see some more positive movement with the euro. The pound remains being hammered. However you look at it, looking at it ended up almost putting a hammer in, ironically, on the weeklies there. No real overall positivity, but well, spinning top stroke hammer barring on the weeklies. Maybe there's some positive direction ahead, but it's really still in this phase of indecision. Really, we did earlier in last week run into the sort of prior lows there, proper lows as opposed to spiky lows. But aside of that, it's then consolidated. Yet Friday sort of left us almost pushing up, and we could be still pushing up towards the daily 21s. So there's a possibility to push up towards that. It's very difficult market at the moment to read some of the time. Overall, bigger picture, to me, it still looks bearish as what we're seeing. If it breaks this trend line that I've got on there, it becomes particularly bearish and will most likely head down towards that 1,200 area or 2,000 area even. Okay, dollar yen. Dollar yen, as I said a week or two ago, whilst I was bullish, and then all of a sudden it became a bit bearish and indecisive. Again, it's got to remain on the bullish side, though. What we're seeing here technically already made off to a reasonable start this week so far. We've just got to watch out for the 106 area, but it's looking bullish from what I'm seeing at the moment. Arguably, well, no, it wasn't. It's all right. I was arguing myself here whether there was any divergences there. There's no divergences. They were there earlier part of the month. There, it's been and gone really. Of course, the only thing as we come into the new month, we will get a new monthly pivot and the potential draw to the downside. At the moment, though, my view remains relatively bullish. Aussie dollar. Again, it's just another week of consolidation within this very, very tight range, and it seems that this wedge seems to be holding it pretty much all the time. We had a bit of a spike out. It looked like it was going to go for the last couple of weeks. It's sort of trying to spike this trend that's running across the highs here, but really struggling. And well, I'm still erring almost to the bearish side here. If it breaks the weekly 21, I'd be much more bearish on that. Looking from what we can see here. Now, of course, we've got some key news out this week, which made it with the bank rate coming out. It's what's not necessarily the bank rate that's changed, it's what's said around that bank rate or any surprises with the bank rate, but we could at last come out of this wedge that we've been sitting in. The wedge is clearer on a daily picture from what I'm looking at here using these near-term lows. As I say, last week it couldn't even, when it was driving up back towards those highs, it just couldn't get back. We've got this sort of supply area up here where people keep on selling into. Well, perhaps if it can hold into a little bit, it could push up, but I have to remain relatively neutral until we see a break either side on this. It's not really showing its hand too well. Although my erring, as I said, was probably if it breaks the lower side, it'll confirm that erring to the bearish side. Okay, Canadian dollar. Well, last week was relatively as I was bullish for it, and it moves partially nowhere, and but slightly to the upside. Lots of consolidation. There's certainly the oomph seems to be running out of this upward push, and well, at some point we could get a more significant rollover. Looking at the daily bars here, and I was just looking, they're putting higher lows in, the majority of them, and some of them higher highs going in there, but well, today has probably been the most bearish day we've seen for a while on it, but that could all change, of course, before the day's out. But if we start seeing a break of the daily 8, well, perhaps that may be that early part of the transition across to a bit more of a retrace here, but still erring to the upside whilst we're above that 8 and 21 moving average, really, on the dailies. So that's it for me. We can look at a quick look at oil. Oil's rolled over here on the dailies. Just show the weekly picture as well. It's not really showing too much difference actually on the weekly there, but dailies it rolled back to the 34 here. Lack of decisions and the possible problems with Iran and Iraq not wanting to be drawn or tightened into any quotas. So it's it's seen oil come off a bit for now at least. Any sort of agreements that can be made there may see it rally up quite strongly at some point, but we're sort of in that sort of a range, as I mentioned, in terms of where I expect oil to sit there somewhere in the near the $50 barrel for some time. Okay, and finally, let's have a look at the might as well have a look at the FTSE. As we're talking about the pound so much, it's slowed up on a weekly basis, and last week you had another indecisive candle here, very indecisive. Perhaps that's given us the signal that the pound might at some point rally, but from its transitional period. But really, to me, there was some divergence going in on the earlier part of the month. It's just sat there in a very, very tight range since. Maybe it will roll through the 34s, the 50s, but any particular selling in the pound may well see this rally once again. But it is erring to me that it could roll over on the FTSE, which in that case we would expect the pound to be pushing up. So just need to watch those carefully. And finally, the S&Ps. Let's just have a look here, leading into the elections. No surprise really either there. It's a consolidated phase that we're seeing here on the dailies. It's the futures and the weeklies not really showing anything too much, but I think come next week we'll see a move out of that consolidating range. Okay, that's it for me. I hope you have a great week. Bye for now.